welcome back to
Bunso Bites.
I'm your host, Ami43.
And I'm your co-host, Jiggy.
Hi, Jiggy.
Hi, Ami.
I am congested.
Yes.
I am massively congested, so I apologize in advance. This episode is going to sound literally stuffy. We were outside, and it was really, really cold. And we were outside for too long of a period of time. And even though I was wearing a hoodie and a blanket and a leggings and I had so many layers, I still ended up getting the sniffles. So, but thankfully, nothing like crazy, like nothing I can't cope with. I just sound really bad. Not really bad. I just sound kind of gnarly. That's all. How are you?
I'm well.
Yeah.
Very well.
I'm so mad. We were both outside, same amount of time, everything. He's perfectly fine. I am not. And I'm just like, come on now. Yep. But I'm bitter about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing well. I'm glad. Everything going okay on your end. No fun updates this week.
I mean, I can talk about what I bought you for your birthday.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, Ami's birthday just passed, and that weekend we went out to the mall and we visited Bath and Body Works.
Yes, we talked about this already. Yeah.
We did?
Yes.
I did?
Yes.
I dropped like $500 on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind then.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about, like, the rest of, like, you treated me out. Like, we had dinner with our friends and you treated me out. And
I mean, I could talk about that too, but I didn't know that I talked about your gifts already.
I could have sworn we did.
Okay, anyways, if I have not talked about it, this is what I'm going to talk about. And if I've already talked about it, you're just going to hear it again. That's right. So we went to Bath and Body Works, and it was the weekend of the Disney Princess launch. And so I got her the Disney Castle candle holder.
Yes.
And I got her a bag or a purse.
A Disney Princess backpack, yes. And
the gift set with the mists.
Yes.
Yes. Now that it's coming back to me, we have talked about this.
Yes.
And then I spent some more money getting duplicates.
Yes, you did.
And then we went out for your birthday over to the local Korean sandwich shop.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
It was fun.
It was very fun because they expanded and they have multiple locations. But since it's the first time we've been there eating inside, we thought we'd spend some time there because they have a lot more room to just hang out and eat.
Yeah.
And then with these types of places and just like boba places, they have like games lying around on each table,
tabletop games,
there's like a shelf that holds all the tabletop games. But they also have like a small mini what's the one? Air hockey. There you go.
Okay.
They have an air hockey, a mini air hockey, and a mini pool table there, as well as 4 cabinets of games. They're not like specifically tailored to a specific game, but there's multiple games on each cabinet.
Yeah.
2 of them are the same, and then the 2 others are different. So one has like, I remember playing Galaga and Miss Pac-Man on one of them.
Nice.
And then the other 2 that are the same, they have like Neo Geo games on there. I think one of like the prominent titles on there is Samurai Showdown.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another one that has like a dial that you can use to play. I know, like one of the games on there is like the Brick Breaker or something.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
But anyways, we spent like 3 hours there.
We closed the place down.
Yeah. We were there.
They didn't kick us out, but they were waiting for us to leave.
Yeah, we were there at a certain time, and we spent 3 hours there, and
on a weeknight.
we were just hanging out, just catching up, having fun, lots of laughs. I got up plenty of times to get refills because it was there for me. So, but yeah, we spent your birthday there. I also treated you out on a different day, not your birthday.
Yeah.
And we got Italian.
Went to a nice restaurant, yeah.
And that, I don't know if you want to turn that into another episode on dining experiences, but it was so-so.
I was fine. You had an interesting experience, but I was fine.
Well, whatever.
I mean, you know, I don't know what happened with you, but ayo, so.
I mean, food was good.
Yeah.
I just did not like waiting around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think our total time there was over 2 hours
just
for a dinner.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's just two people.
Yeah.
Come on. Step it up.
Yeah. We had an absent-minded waitress, I'll say that. She was kind of floating around for a while.
Yeah. Whatever the case may be, 2 hours is ridiculous.
I mean, I enjoyed spending time with you, so
Hey.
that's all that mattered to me.
But I was just sitting there, just like, where's my food? I'm hungry. I think the dessert took the longest, to me at least.
Yeah, and your dessert was very interesting. You got orange sorbet in an orange.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's cool, but it was like, when it came out to us, we were like, oh, like, y'all actually meant in an orange. They, like, somehow, I mean, not somehow, they topped and tailed the orange, and then they hollowed it out, and then they shoved sorbet in there.
And then they froze it.
And then they froze it, but then they also torched the orange.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like...
It was weird.
Fire and ice? Like, I don't know what's happening here. His orange sorbet was lovely. Like, there's no denying it, but I didn't understand the frozen torching part. The presentation was like, okay, cool. It's in an orange. Like, you know what you're eating.
Yeah.
And I got cake because it's my birthday.
Yeah. But yeah, we've celebrated your birthday multiple times this time on different days.
What was that look?
Just because
Yeah.
you're that special to me.
Yeah. Well, it was also like for different things, right? Like we did it with friends and then we did it together and, you know, family. Like there's always like different. If I were to invite everyone that we know to a singular birthday celebration,
That'd be a lot.
I would cry. Like I would not be happy.
Yeah.
So that's generally how, I mean, you know, it's easier if you kind of segment it that way.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to segment my life, but just like, I mean, we already had our wedding. We didn't need a wedding 2.0, you know, the following month.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a lot. So
Yeah, but hey, you know, we celebrated your birthday,
Yes.
and so I hope you enjoyed those many days that we went out or we were with friends and family.
yeah,
So.
I enjoyed spending quality time with you, with our friends, with our family. Like, you know, it was and it always is pleasant. Birthdays are my favorite holidays. I say it all the time, but they are. So, you know, it's one day where you very intentionally can be selfish. Not just like in a it's all about me, but selfish as in like you can choose who you want to be with, how you want to spend your time, that type of thing. I will say I regretfully had to work on I'm normally really good about calling or like requesting off for my birthday. And to be honest, I probably could have, but the week that I was supposed to request off, because you have to do it so many weeks in advance, of course, you know, to make sure there's coverage, we had the flu. So it was like, I just didn't. By the time we came back, technically I was too close to the window for me to request off. And so I was just like, well, okay, you know, and I ended up having to actually work on my birthday. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it was definitely like I'm never going to do that again. I very much like taking that day off, just me personally, because I like to like go around. I'll go in the morning, get a coffee. Like I like to spend time, you know, doing things that I like to do that maybe not everyone in my life likes to do. Like you don't want to go to a thrift store with me, or you don't want to go to some niche cafe that serves really niche whatever and costs exorbitant amount of money, but it looks really pretty type of things. But I want to do that. So it's like, you know, having taken the day off or having the time to do that is a luxury, but it is something that I like to do.
Okay.
So
Did you have any other updates that you want to talk about?
No, I'm just stuffy. I'm stuffy, but it's like it's also just like there's nothing there. I like try to cough or I try to like blow my nose, and like sometimes stuff comes out, but it's like really rare. Like I definitely cut my nose earlier because I was blowing it too hard, and I was like, ow. So yes, focusing lots of fluids on getting better. I'm so mad. We both were outside for the same amount of time, and I'm the one who ends up with, you know, a stuffy nose, and he's just like, I'm fine. I'm like, okay. But anyways, I digress. We were talking about this topic earlier today, and it was something that Chiggy brought to my attention. So, what do you want to talk about on the pod today?
So the newest generation, Generation Alpha.
Yes.
Are they cooked?
Oh.
Because like
we're starting off hot.
Yeah, because like I know as a former teacher, like it was pretty hard to get students like all focused on the same thing.
Sure.
And for them to be engaged and willing to learn and all that.
Sure.
And that was for Generation Z, Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
And so now in Generation A, Generation Alpha, are they worse off than Generation Z and or the millennials?
Yeah, and this is a highly, highly, highly subjective question.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. And I think what we're going to focus on is obviously personal experiences that we've had with specifically like our friends' kids, but also more in the academic space. Because I think there's a lot to be said on the differences in generations and like socioeconomics and politics and all that stuff. Like it's all vastly different. You know, a lot of people like to divide our generations with like, oh, like we experience like things like 9/11 or like we experience like that type of thing in our like growing up years. But then Gen Z experienced COVID, and then like Gen A is experiencing like it's like a whole different thing. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. Obviously, that's what the whole point of like generations are and the differences in generations. But we were talking, and we talk a lot with our friends who do have kids, and definitely we see in like the academics area how very different it was just 2 generations ago, because we were in school 2 generations ago, and then the generation after us, and then ultimately like our friends' kids now. So that's kind of just so that we could direct the conversation in that way. I don't want people to think that we're like making broad generalizations. We're not. We're just speaking of our own experiences. So as Chiggy said, he was a teacher for Gen Z. You were teaching that generation. And I would even say like tail end of millennial. So you were kind of into like the millennial into Gen Z generation of kids. And so do you think like the already from that point it was difficult, because I know that that's like a common not complaint, but like something that's brought up a lot amongst teacher communities, because I mean just following stuff online, but like a lot of people say that like kids don't know how to be students anymore, or like they don't know how to like sit in a class and pay attention anymore. Was that you were already experiencing that when you were a teacher?
No. So I actually had really good kids.
Okay.
2 of my 5 classes were honors, not really honors, but they were like at least a year ahead in mathematics.
Sure.
So I had some pretty smart kids. And then I had 3 classes of geometry, quote unquote honors. Okay. Which is, you know, it was actually a wide variety of students from freshmen all the way to seniors.
Sure. Okay.
So, whether that be the case, like they were all pretty good students.
Yeah.
You know, they could control themselves in the classroom. You know, if I needed them to quiet down, they'd listen and all that. If I'd ask them a question, for the majority of the time, you know, I'd get an answer from the class.
Okay.
Unlike some other students and our classes, and even in this new generation, like there will be a question that's asked and you get straight crickets. And like no one will know the answer, even though it's like probably very straightforward. Like, I don't know, kids just don't have the mental capacity anymore to sit still and focus and just learn like we used to learn. Yeah. So it's getting harder and harder, I think, at least.
Oh, yeah. And, well, I would say there's also and again, I am not a teacher. This is just how I've seen, you know, as our younger cousins, our friends' kids, you know, like generations after us, I've seen that it's also there was a big disconnect for a while between how schools were teaching and how quickly technology was being implemented in schools. So like when we were in school, it was so novel or whatever to use Microsoft Office. Like I remember I was like one of the first kids in my like elementary school class that presented a PowerPoint presentation. And you know, like that was like such a big deal or whatever, and like I had to get special permission, not just from my teacher, but like from like, I don't know if it was a principal or like division head or something, because I had to bring a USB to school, or not, no, it was a floppy disk. It was a floppy disk to school that had my PowerPoint presentation. And, you know, like, and that was like a big deal. Like that was a whole thing. And now kids, like I would say my younger cousin, her generation, they have laptops and like their textbook is their laptop. But I also feel like that technology has surpassed that even more, and kids are just starting to get, like, it's just starting to get incorporated into the educational narrative. And I'm not like faulting the education system or teachers or anything like that. I think it was technology like zoomed so fast that no one really knew how to like make it equal across all boards. Because if you asked anyone prior to like my younger cousin's generation, you know, a couple years before my younger cousin was able to have a laptop to bring home, if that's like a normal thing or if that would be an acceptable thing, I know a lot of people would have said no, because budget-wise, imagine each student having a laptop. That's a lot of money. Like, where does that money come from? But at the same time, it's like, you have to, because that's how these kids, like, that's how they're learning. I mean, these kids have smartphones that are better than the computers that are being given to them or the computers they're using in school. There was a distinct generational, or like not even generational, there was a distinct difference between, I have two younger cousins. One of them graduated just a couple years ago, and one of them is graduating this year. And the one that graduated just a couple years ago, he wasn't bringing a laptop home for school, but the cousin that's graduating this year, you know, she's been bringing a laptop home, and that's like her, like anything dealing with school is there. And I don't know specifically how it works, but it's like that's the difference in how technology has implanted itself into education. And then I think on top of that, it's also like we were talking about access to information, because I mean, I know when I was in school, I went to the library and I looked at, you know, I used the there's a Dewey Decimal System. I used that to find textbooks concerning whatever I had to do homework on, and I would talk to a librarian and ask them for, you know, their recommendations on references, or if they have any ideas of like where I can find more information of this. That is not to say I didn't have access to Google, because I very much did, and I knew how to use Google. I mean, like in our generation, we had the internet. We had Ask Jeeves, we had, you know, Yahoo, like we had all the search engines, and I would use those, but they were always supplementary to my quote unquote physical research. And like whenever I had to do research, I was always physically going to a library, whether that was my school library, a local library, whatever. That being, I mean, biased, my mom loves libraries, so like I grew up going to the library all the time. But it was very much whenever I felt like I had to do formal research, aka like I had an assignment or I had a paper to write, it was never like, oh, let me Google first. It was always, okay, let's go to the library, do some research, and then Google could supplement anything that I couldn't necessarily find online. And this is like, I would argue this is all the way to like my first or second year of college, because I think by the time I wrote my dissertation in art history, it was kind of like using online sources was like okay, like I didn't have to go to the library. But also I don't want to say I was a subject matter expert, but like I knew the subject enough because I was specialized in it already at that point. So yeah, it wasn't as hardcore as that. But I don't know, what do you think that made a difference, or those types of things made a difference?
So you're talking about the access of information.
Yeah.
Yes, it does make a difference.
Okay.
So when I was a kid and I had to do research on a topic, I had to go into the library, open up a book, and or use an encyclopedia, and look up information and then cite that source using MLA format. And, that would be the basis of my research. Nowadays, you can just type in something to Google or into an AI engine,
Well, and that's the thing. Even Google has changed. It's not just Google and then it has search results. Now you have Google AI. And AI will literally, you could type in your question and AI will literally answer the question.
And so the access to information is so much quicker than when I used to research that, students nowadays, they can give you their paper in like an hour or something, something ridiculous. And, how legitimate that is, that's up to the discretion of the teacher.
Right.
So, yes, it does make a difference. Me being a math teacher, though, the point of contention for me comes in when it comes to standardized tests, because that is something I know in the state of Virginia that they do have. I know other states don't have standardized tests, but for those states that do, because they're not going to go away with it.
Yeah.
What happens to Generation Alpha when they're in standardized tests? They can't use Google. They can't use an AI engine.
Right.
They have to use their brain and, pencil and paper. So it's like when it comes time for them to test in those standardized tests, I think, a majority of them will fail.
Yeah. Do you, and I've never asked you this before. Well, no, maybe we have, but we haven't talked about it maybe in this context. Are you pro standardized tests or are you not pro standard? Or are you anti standardized tests, I guess?
I'm pro.
I am
because I fully believe, like, in order for someone to go from K through 12 and them not to have opened a textbook and not know how to read and or write and or think and like accumulate your ideas to put it into paper and or use your brain to get through a problem, if you can't efficiently like get through all that to answer a question, I don't think you're fit to have said that you've passed basic studies.
Okay, let me counter that question now. So you're talking about how you're using your brain to quote unquote solve a problem and prove that you have that capacity. Do you think standardized testing tests for critical thinking? Because I don't.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I mean, even as something as simple as name the differences between, like, I don't know, World War I and World War II.
Okay.
Something like that. There's depths to like how many levels of critical thinking there are.
Yeah.
So you can go just base level and just name the different types
of World War II.
Sure.
1 is 1 and 2 is 2.
Sure. But like, World War I, you had the introduction of airplanes and submarines and ships and all that, and then World War II, you have even better technology in warfare. So stuff like that, and you can get down to the nitty gritty and think how different those two wars were.
Sure.
But if you don't know like what happened in World War I and or World War II, how can you compare and contrast the two things?
Yeah.
So if a student was in that situation and they're taking that test and they can't even remember what happened during those two time frames and or
differentiate them,
then they're screwed. But if you're saying that like, hey, kids, you have whatever resources available to you to write your answer to this question, then it's your answers are going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
Because they're going to start citing things that they would have never have said on their own.
Sure.
But, it's out there in the world, out on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
And, for them to just, oh, hey, here's my answer, coming straight from ChatGPT or something.
Right.
Like, I don't think that in any way made them think any critically than what they have put into the search engine to get that answer.
So I guess so, and this could be very specifically like very hyper specifically my experience with standardized testing, I agree. So the points that you made, fully agree with. I think that it's important to have, I think that to test someone's ability for critical thinking is providing them with open-ended problems. In my experience with standardized testing, it was never like that. It was, what year did World War One or World War Two happen? And it was A, B, C, or D. And it wasn't about critically thinking. It was about how much you can memorize. And so in my mind, and or not only how much you can memorize, but like how well could you be at test taking. I mean, I remember taking those how to take the SAT classes or how to take the ACT classes so that you can, like, you learn how to, like, oh, okay, you know these two are definitely wrong. So that now you're down to a 50-50 and how to get to what would be the closest answer. Like, those are the types of things. And to me, that's not critically thinking. But what you said, where you're like, give a student an hour and a half, pencil, paper, noggin, that's all you got. Tell me, and providing them with a problem or with a prompt, so to speak, that is open-ended, that they can show and show their work literally. I think that is testing your critical thinking in a sense of, like, because you can see the layers and the depth to that. And I mean, as someone who did, when I was in, like, higher level literature classes and all that stuff, and I was writing those types of papers it wasn't for standardized testing, it was for class. But, I knew that, like, I loved reading and writing, so it was super, super easy. Now, I think where standardized testing does excel is things like that are measurable, things that have solid, specific answers, like science and math, where it's not about, I mean, in science, arguably, like, oh, I memorized the periodic table, but, like, there's chemistry where you have to, like, calculate your bonds, and then in math, you have to show your work and show your calculations. Excuse me. So I think in that sense, critical thinking can be applied, but in the more open-ended, like your histories, philosophies, English, I don't want to say open-ended, but, like, I don't know, less specific, less there's a correct answer. I never experienced standardized testing to a level where I thought, oh, I was being graded on how, like, actually good of a student I was. To me, standardized testing in those, subjects specifically was always, how much can I memorize and how well can I take a test under these limitations of sitting in a gymnasium with no AC for, like, an hour and a half, answering, 300 questions, and how far I can get in the test. It was like, that's not how you test a student. That's not a good way to measure a student's ability. Sorry, I'm not trying to, like, argue with you on standardized testing. It's just, like, I think there's a good and bad to it. I think you can't eliminate standardized testing because there is a lot of data that can be provided in that. Like, if everyone in the third grade failed multiplication tables, well, clearly we need to change something in the curriculum to help third graders learn multiplication tables. Like, that's invaluable data that you can't remove from standardized testing. But I also feel like, at least in my generation, I don't know how it is now, and I also know, I think also in the state of Virginia, it's a little more hyper specific because you guys take standardized testing, like, specific subjects on specific years. I took a standardized test for every subject every year when I was growing up. And this was both in Florida schools and Dodd schools, because that's really all I went to school here in the States, but, like, very little. Did I go to school here in the States? Yeah, I had to have. I mean, not in the States, here in Virginia, I'm sorry. Maybe for a year or two, but I don't remember. So it's like, it really just depends. I feel like you can use standardized testing as a tool, but it shouldn't be a measure. It shouldn't be a definitive measure of a student's success. And then actually, and while you were talking, you were mentioning things about, like, oh, if a student can just, like, go into Google and ChatGPT can chug out an answer or a paper for them. I feel like, and this is something that I saw again online, just like some teachers and, like, some of our friends talking, that because students nowadays are so used to typing everything, they have lost the value of handwriting. I remember when you had to handwrite your like your papers, not just your math. Like you would handwrite like full essays, like 20 minutes, 500 words. And apparently in the current generation, they cannot fathom handwriting 500 words in 20 minutes. And I'm like, I can chug out 500 words in 5 minutes. What do you mean? It's crazy to me, but that's their norm because they're so used to typing everything, or they're so used to having everything typed out. And I was just curious as to your thoughts on it. I mean, obviously as a math teacher it's a little different, but actually writing. Did you have to handwrite your papers?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I just
yeah, we had to write out our papers, and I distinctly remember 11th grade English.
Yeah.
And that's when I
Which
used
English
to
did you take?
Honors.
Okay.
Worst decision of my life.
AP Lang Gang.
Whatever.
Grade, AP Lit 12th grade. Hey.
Didn't really matter. So I remember in my 11th grade English class,
sure.
Taking the standardized test. My teacher, or that was the time when I used to write everything in cursive.
Oh.
And that's my prime way of handwriting.
Sure.
And I distinctly remember my teacher saying to me when I take the standardized test to write in print.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Because my cursive was so small and distinct that it was very hard for her to read.
Oh.
So she was like, write in print so that whoever grades your paper is able to read through it.
It's legible.
Legible.
Wow. Yeah, it's legible. That's what I meant to say.
So, yeah, I wrote out all my papers.
Sure.
And I think the form of cursive it's lost now.
Oh yeah.
To Generation Z and A.
It's not something that they taught in school. I'm pretty sure my auntie had to teach our cousin how to sign her name, how to cursive sign her name. Now, granted, she was probably part of the. I mean, she was old enough to know that cursive exists, but it wasn't something that they taught. I mean, we had a whole 2-week class. I remember, or 1 week long class of how to write each of the cursive letters. And how to write specifically your name in cursive. Because I would do mine with little curlicues.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, Microsoft Word curls who? More like curls on my last name.
Okay. But the functionality of cursive is limited, very limited now to just, do you know how to sign your name?
Yeah.
And I don't think cursive is ever needed other than that.
Yeah, I like to handwrite notes, but that's a personal thing.
But who writes notes anymore other than you and all the OGs that like to send letters through the mail?
A handwritten note goes a long way emotional.
Okay.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. I think, the world now has just moved on from handwriting things to everything being digital, so.
Even your signature is digital.
Yeah.
When you sign on little iPads or on little whatever, fully digital. Yeah.
Yeah. So, cursive is lost.
Is getting lost.
It's not
lost yet because you and I can still write in cursive.
We can still write it, but that's it.
I guess, yeah. That reminds me. Just the other day, I had to sign with my new initials. I almost made a mistake too because I was like, I was like, wait a minute.
A2.
Yeah. 8 squared.
Yeah. But yeah. Generation Alpha, I think they're gonna have a hard time going through school, especially when they take away devices.
Yeah, I'm so interested. It's hard, right? Because it's you obviously, in a school, or not, let me not say school, in an educational setting, you would want to have the ability to introduce technology to children in a way that is for them to understand, for them to be able to utilize as a resource, as a positive resource, and for them to not be mentally left behind in any way. Because you don't want it to be that when they leave this safe space where they're learning and they go out into the real world, out home, back home, whatever it is, and then they don't know, but it's something that is so common. I mean, no joke, like I hire, for people, and I hire jobs. There are jobs that have a typing requirement, and if you cannot meet that typing requirement, you are not eligible. And this is like a very like niche thing. Most people these days can more than exceed this typing requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just like, if you don't teach, like, let's say theoretically there was someone who was trying to protect their child from too much technology exposure, and then they come to, they're trying to get hired for this job, but then they're not eligible because they didn't learn how to properly type, or they weren't exposed to it early enough that it was a natural skill, or it was a skill that was easily learned. So it's like, that's a hard line to draw. That's a hard balance. I mean, I know that if and when you and I have children, that would be definitely figuring out where the boundaries of technology is a conversation to be had, for sure. Because it's like, you don't want to limit their exposure so much that you inhibit them, but obviously you need to introduce technology to them in a way that is safe and educational, I guess.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Because I don't think this ever happened in any of the schools that I've been to.
Okay.
But did any of your schools have debate teams?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think I've ever had a debate team in any of my schools.
Okay.
Not to say that I would have joined one, but
I was scared of them.
Okay.
Being honest. They're very headstrong people.
Okay, yeah. I see that. I think this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Generation Alpha may be the strongest nowadays when it comes to debate. Even though they may not know all the facts, they can definitely talk their way out of it.
Okay. Can you explain further?
I mean, so like when you do debate, you talk about facts. Yes. And then you compare and contrast and or refute opinions with facts. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think Generation Alpha may be like the greatest at debating, but they can probably debate their butt off because they can probably just talk their way out of whatever the fact is.
Okay. Do you think Generation Alpha has a hive mindset?
Yes.
That's interesting, because I would argue that I mean, I don't know where you're pulling this, like what experience you're pulling this from.
This is just me, personal opinion. I think they can talk their way out of things.
Sure. But I feel like also there's something to be said for, in the current socio-political economic like situation, like right now, I think that maybe they're like that because they're mimicking other people who are like that. That is not limited to Gen A.
Okay.
But like in a sense of, they see like, oh, these people are getting away with whatever. Like, that means I can do that too.
Yeah.
And I think it's having, I could agree with you where I think it is, I don't know specifically like Gen Alpha or not, but I have seen the youth emulating other groups of people, right, because they're seeing that it's happening and that it's working, whatever that means. So it's like, oh, okay, like if they just say it and they believe it, then it is true, regardless if it is or not. And so they're like, okay, then I'll do that. Yeah. So no, I can see that, for sure. I mean, I feel like it's also one of those things that like you have to, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's like you almost have to have like a civic duty in how you raise your kids. Like, obviously everyone's political, religious, beliefs and all that stuff, they could all be different, and that's fine. But I also feel like it's your civic duty to raise like if you opt to have a child or children, you should raise that human to be overall just a good human, like not be, like a good human as in like someone who is critically who can critically think, someone who doesn't just blurt out an answer to blurt out an answer, but like will work towards an understanding or a truth. And I mean, again, opinions are opinions. There's always going to be an opinion about something, and they can support whatever opinion they want to. But that's the thing. Can you support the opinion? And if you can, cool. If you can't, then maybe that's something you need to question as a person in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's up to the parents and the grandparents who are raising these children to show, like, it's not just an extreme. It's like you have to suspend disbelief or suspend belief until you are justified in an answer. And I mean, because I watch Reddit stories, or I listen to Reddit stories all the time. Like, that's like my listening when I'm at work. And I hear the ones where, like, the kid will, like, explain something because, I don't know, science or something has changed, but then the teacher is, like, a little bit older, and they're like, I've been teaching this for 20 years, and I've been teaching it this way for 20 years. You can't tell me that I'm wrong. But it's like, that's not what you want to teach your kids. You want to teach them that knowledge is ever growing and ever expanding and changing. And as a person who has a, brain that can think, cohesive and coherent thoughts, it's like, okay, you can always challenge something, but then if there's justification behind it, then there's justification behind it. If there isn't, then it's like, okay, so you've asked a question, now go look for the answer. Whatever that may mean, I'm talking really philosophically here, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, it really comes down to how we raise our children to approach these things. I know that the education system may be ever changing, but, like, great example with my cousin that's graduating this year. I know her parents were very, I would say, strict on her concerning, like, her making sure her grades were, like, this way, or making sure that she was taken care of on top of, like, her schoolwork and all that stuff, and making sure that it was all good. But it was all because they were making sure and, like, keeping her in line, keeping her in check, that not only was she a good student, but she was developing into, a more developed, educated brain, so that she can go to college and she can, achieve those things in life because she is prepared for it. They challenged her so that she would be better, if that makes sense. And I know that's what I would hope to be able to do when we have kids. I mean, we joke all the time that I'm going to be a lot more strict about it than you are, but I think it really comes down to, if you set an expectation or a standard that's like, it's not unreasonable, it's not unachievable, but it's pushing them to their highest potential in a healthy and grounded way, but still pushing them. Because if you don't challenge your child, then they're going to go into the world thinking that everything is easy, everything's handed on a silver platter, and it's really not. Just like we were saying with, like, the whole technology thing. Yeah, you can Google your answers all the time. You can chat GPT your answers all the time, but that's only going to get you so far. And you need to be able to think beyond what Google, Chat GPT, whatever can give you. Wow, I feel so smart.
You are.
Wow. Do you have any, like, other thoughts you wanted to share?
Probably not.
Well, I guess we'll round it with this, only because this was, again, something we were kind of discussing, and this can kind of finish off the conversation. What are your thoughts, or, like, how do you feel about the cocoa melons and the, I don't know what other ones there are, like,
like kid shows?
Yeah, the pink fongs of the world.
Other than them being very catchy, I don't think it's beneficial for children to watch them.
Yeah.
Because I know in the case for Coco Melon, because, like, each picture that they show on the screen only lasts for, like, 1 to 3 seconds.
I feel it's a whole algorithm thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that a child's mind and or what they're seeing, it catches their attention and then it's gone. Catches their attention and it's gone. So their ADHD may be spiked because of that, or they may develop ADHD because of that. And it's not like where we had, like, back in the day, we had, like, Bill Nye the Science Guy or something.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it is, like, kid student friendly.
Sure.
And you actually do learn stuff. But, like, the kid shows that you're talking about now, I don't think they really focus on that. They're focusing more on like advertising, I think, because everything is just, you know, what can I do to engage the viewer's mind, and that's about as far as they get.
Yeah, so I would argue it's not, well, ultimately it is about advertising, but it's about watch hours, which leads to advertising. But it is the exactly like you said, they calculated how many seconds does an image, a highly saturated, colorful, happy, bright image, need to be on the screen, and then change to the next happy, bright image, in addition to whatever song that we can, that's really, really catchy, so that I will have this, assuming child, watch it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. That hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of watch time results in, number one, and we're just generalizing, YouTube money, like to and ping fong or whatever, in addition to the actual advertising, like that does go on the video itself, because it's like, okay, you have an advertisement at the beginning, you have an advertisement at minute 10, whatever, so on and so forth. And I loathe to see it, but when like an ad comes on and I just see the kid's finger, like before the skip button even comes on, but they know exactly what they need to push to get to the, like, it's like addictive, like they're so, like, they're waiting for their next itch almost. And the dopamine spikes that they get from it can be, I don't want to say they're dangerous. I don't know. I don't think there's enough research out there to actually say, but I think it can lead to a negative things associated, like an addiction of sorts to those types of things. Because, at the end of the day, we see it all the time. Kids having a meltdown, what's the only thing that's going to calm them down? When mom gives them the iPad. And it's like, that's unfortunate. Like, but at the same time, I feel for parents, because sometimes in this day and age, that is the only way out, and you don't want that you don't want to, especially like if you're in a public area, like if you're on a plane or if you're on like a bus or something, and you like, everyone's like looking at you as a parent, be like, can you make your child be quiet? And it's just like, sometimes you can't, so then you just gotta shove a screen in front of them and hope for the best. And that's unfortunate, but that is how it works. Like, that's the norm nowadays. I know, and I've said this to you before, my parents were very hyper specific about the toys that we had. I had a lot of educational toys growing up, like educational toys to the point that, like, I was low-key a nerd before I went to school, because I very distinctly remember I had a puzzle of the United States. So before I went to kindergarten, I knew the geography of the United States plus the capitals, because on my little puzzle, I knew that, here's this state, and and there's a little capital on it, before I even went to school. And, all of my toys were like that. My mom very distinctly also said there was one time where we moved and she forgot where she put a box of toys or something, and I ended up finding it, and I scared her because I was hiding in this like random like attic room, and I was like, look, mommy, toys. And my mom was like, oh, those are your toys, oops. But it was, again, just a lot of educational stuff. And there's no, I don't think that you should punish a child and not give them fun toys. I think there's a time and place for fun toys for sure, but definitely a variety of toys and things that go beyond screen time, I think would be a good balance. Because, again, you don't want to inhibit their knowledge of technology, but yeah, seeing that addict finger of like pushing the skip button before the ad's even over, it's kind of like, that doesn't feel good. Like,
okay,
it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. But yeah, any other thing you want to share?
That point that you made also can be applied to everyone that's not a child, and how TikTok Reels can have that same effect.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and obviously it depends. I know that I've been victim to it, but I also feel like I have a presence of mind enough to know that, like, oh, I'm being really bad, or I'm being really annoying right now because I'm being really addicted to this, and I'm like, and I can put my phone down and I can step away. But I feel like as a 30-year-old lady, that's different than, you know, a 2-year-old or a 6-year-old who doesn't know that they should put the phone down or doesn't know that they should put the iPad down. Or, like, they don't have that prefrontal cortex. I don't know. I mean, you know, they don't have the thought of, oh, I should put this away or whatever. I mean, I remember when we first started dating, I would always call you out because I'm just like, can you, like, not look at your phone and, like, pay attention? And you're like, no, I am paying attention. And, like, it took a long time for you to understand that it wasn't about you paying attention or not paying attention. It was just like, I just need you to be present and just not be looking at your phone. And so it was like, okay. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, 100% there are times you and I will be eating and we're both on our phones, and that is A-okay. Because sometimes, like, I am tired and you are tired and we don't want to talk to anyone. But I want to hold your hand and scroll reels on my Instagram and eat food, and that's okay. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like like I said, you and I are adults and we have cognizant, like, ability to be like, oh, actually, I should put my phone down, or, oh, actually, I should, you know, put on Do Not Disturb or something and just go on this date with you or go hang out with you or whatever it is. And that's, like, something specific to us, but, you know, it is what it is. I do remember one time I saw there was this, like, cute little challenge going around where it was like, you know, sit down with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, have a meal, and don't turn on a YouTube video. Like, the weird, like, itch of, like, you know, because I know you and I, especially, like, after, like, a long day, we'll just turn on Twitch, we'll just turn on whatever, and, you know, we eat, and that's, like, us decompressing. But I also think that, at least in my, you know, perspective of our relationship, it's like, that's not all we do, though. Like, we still connect in different ways beyond that, but we also are human, and we have days where I'm like, I want to be a vegetable and look at the screen, and that's okay. As long as we know that it's like, it's just for that, like, taking a break, and then, you know, okay, let's get back to being human again. So yeah, very interesting topic, very interesting perspectives. I feel like it's not that there's, like, a right answer to any of this. I feel like you have to do what's best for, and, you know, to any parents, it's like, you have to do what's best for your family and your children, 100%. But it's also just one of those things that maybe it's just something we need to be cognizant of, or something we should be cognizant of in how we present to our kids. Like, if our kids just see us scrolling on our phones,
of course they're going to mimic that.
I was about to say, the first instinct they're going to have is, well, I want something to scroll on too. You know, put your phone down, go play blocks with your kids. I don't know. Well, you know, but at the same time, it's like being cognizant, because, you know, in the situation where you're either the parent, the grandparent, the auntie and uncle, for us anyways, I, you know, don't get me wrong, I love, like, playing on my phone with the kids too. Like, I'll do, like, those funny, back in the day when, like, we would have Snapchat, whatever, the funny filters and stuff. Doing that with kids was super fun. But it was also just, like, that was never the main thing. Like, if I was hanging out, like, whenever I hang out with my niece and nephews, I'm hanging out with them. I'm asking them, what did you learn today? Like, what did you do today? How are you? What's going on in your brain? Can you show me this? Oh, I remember talking about this. Did that, you know, having that is more important to me than us scrolling on our phones and watching, you know, I don't know, YouTube video or whatever. That being said, my nephew very quickly is learning how to do a lot better in Mario games than I am, and it's very frustrating. He's a very quick learner, so I mean, that's how kids are. So yeah. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. What are your thoughts down below? Has this been something that has come up either in discussion or something that you've seen in your friends, your family, your younger siblings, or even your friends' kids? Let us know in the comments down below. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.